All right, so we're going to solve geometric series if we know both the sum of the infinite sum, which has a value of 1,000, and then the sum of the first three terms adds up to 875. So from here, we're going to use our two equations, and the one that this is going to be applicable to is the sum of an infinite amount of terms is the first term divided by 1 minus r. Okay, so we're going to use that in this equation. And then, generally speaking, the sum of any amount of terms, n terms, is u1. And I'm going to use the version of this that reads 1 minus r as opposed to the other way around. There's two different versions, and then this one's going to be more useful because the 1 minus r matches, the order of it matches, and that's going to become important later on in the problem. Let's go ahead and put our specific values in here, and then we can solve some of the problem. All right, take a look here. 1,000 would be the sum of the infinite amount of terms. So 1,000 equals u1 over 1 minus r. And then if you add up three terms, they would sum to 875. Still don't know the first term, but it would be 1 minus r cubed over 1 minus r. Okay, now we have two equations with two unknowns, u1 and r, and we need to do some kind of substitution or elimination. And in this case, I'm looking at substitution being sort of the easiest approach. Now, I don't like the fraction nature of this, and so I'm going to multiply both sides by 1 minus r and get 1,000 times 1 minus r equals u1. And I'm going to resist the urge to distribute that, and you'll see why here in a moment. So from here, this is what u1 is equal to, and I'm going to substitute that into the u1 in the other equation. When we do that, this will become 875,000 1 minus r cubed over 1 minus r. And now maybe it's more obvious why I did not distribute that, because an entire factor of 1 minus r is going to cancel out from the problem and leave us with something much easier. What's left over is 875 equals 1,000 1 minus r cubed. And solving for r, again, resist the urge to distribute. Instead, divide by 1,000. Uh, 1 minus r cubed. Okay. From here, we have to subtract a 1. And if we subtract 1 from both sides, that would leave us with a negative r cubed on this side, and then a negative 0.125 over on this side. And now both sides are negative, and so you can multiply both sides by -1, or divide both sides by -1, or just cancel the negatives from both sides. This negative sign is not to the power of 3. It's just a minus as a multiplier of -1 in front of it. And so now the last thing to do is to cube root both sides. And then in this side we get r. And let's go ahead and cube root math of 4.25, and that'd be 0.5. So from there, we know that this pattern is multiplying by 0.5, and we can go back up to one of the other equations. I like this one, the one where it was solved. u1 is equal to this 1,000 minus 1 minus r. We can plug in 0.5 into it. So plug in 0.5. 0.5, and then 1000 1 minus 0.5 v1, and that would be 0.5, and if you multiply 0.5 times 1000, that'd be 500. So we now figured out all of the important information from this pattern. The pattern itself starts at 500 and multiplies by 0.5 to the power of n minus 1, and if the problem needs us to, we can use it for another purpose.